Sup, Nerdmigos, I'm the Jive talking to John Norcrow. We've got wife here. We're here for another review, Jive. Listen, we're gonna rename the Star Trek thing. It's just we're not. It doesn't fucking matter.
And there's no date. There's no.
It is Star Trek Thursdays, so deal with that shit.
Wouldn't it be Trekkie Thursdays?
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. It's a whole new. Listen, we're still using the Star Trek Saturday Eve graphic because I don't have time to make a new one tonight. I'll make one over the weekend. Give me a break. I'm not a fucking graphic designer.
This is not our full-time job.
This isn't even my part-time job. That's a lie.
This doesn't pay us at all. It's
fair.
It's just a hobby.
Maybe you give me money. Anywho, so we watched season 3, episode 1 of Star Trek Discovery. Star Trek Discovery's back. Tier for Lower Decks, everybody.
Yeah.
What is it? F in the thing below.
Pour one out for your homies.
Pour one out for your fucking homies. But
a
anywho,
moment of silence.
Yeah, anywho, moment of silence. Anyway, so if you're new here, don't forget to like this video, comment below, share, subscribe, do all that kind of stuff, ring the bell, dibbly, whatever the fuck. Let's do spoiler-free review of this episode. It wasn't a bad episode.
It's pretty good.
It's a pretty good episode.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a good Discovery episode.
It was a good season opener episode as well.
It's a good season opener episode. It's a little rough coming off the back of the season finale of Lower Decks, which was a fucking great episode, but this was a pretty good episode.
Yeah, it was a pretty good episode.
Yeah, go fucking watch it. It's on CBS All Access.
Yep.
Okay, now that we're done with that shit... Oh! Before we go into spoilers, or whatever, it doesn't matter. The name of this episode is That Hope Is You Part 1. I didn't see it on CBS, but that doesn't mean that it's not there and I didn't miss it. But I'm on Wikipedia, looking at all the other episodes, there's no Part 2. So I don't know what that fucking means.
Of course, because we've now said that out loud, that means that there will be
If you
a part
understand
2.
what the fuck this Hope Is You Part 1 for the name of the episode, or if the name of the episode's different and Wikipedia is just wrong, comment below, let me know. Okay, so now that we're done with all that spoiler-free review, let's get into the plot of this episode. Okay, so I'm going to assume that you've seen seasons 1 and 2 of Discovery. If you have not, you're in the wrong place. Wrong bat place, wrong bat channel, go somewhere else.
This is probably not the season to start watching. Start at the beginning.
Yeah, I mean, it's in the song, right?
Yeah.
So... let's get into the plot. So the plot of this episode is basically Michael Burnham gets shot out of a wormhole in her spacesuit. She bangs into some dude's ship, crashes down on a planet. Now, the suit stops working when she bangs into this guy's ship. Her solution, turn the suit off, turn the suit back on, restart the suit.
I mean, classic IT
move. However, she was not in orbit around the planet, primarily because the debris wasn't falling towards the planet and did not have any sort of a thrust. So, if you were to, in a skydiver-like fashion, jump from the International Space Station, which is in orbit, assuming you don't have an orbital velocity, it should take you something on the order of about 2 hours. I looked this the fuck up, by the way. Although I did the math in high school with some friends also, and it all sort of comes together. But it should take like 2 hours to fall to the ground. She brings the suit's fucking re-entry field online before restarting it, although I don't know how that makes any sense, but it's fine. And then the suit comes back online and she's able to like reverse thrust and calm the fuck down and not smash into the ground and die right before she hits the ground, which means that in my mind she was falling in darkness in a suit through atmosphere for like at a dead minimum an hour.
Yeah.
Which is fucking horrifying.
Yeah.
Right? But it's not the point. It's just one of those like little fun things that I thought about in my head, and I'm just like, nah, she was too far away. She would have fell for like a fucking hot minute. It's not important. Anywho, so she crashed into this fucking guy's ship, right? So she lands, a lot of weird camera shake, the wormhole's closing, she decides to send the suit to a place on some sort of coordinates, none of it's explained, and then self-destruct when it does whatever the fuck it's supposed to do. So the suit's now gone and destroyed giant eagles. Dude, we're gonna get shirts made it just says Giant Eagles. You know what I'm talking about. So she's good now. She's got a field kit with like a phaser and a tricorder and some rations that look like earbuds. And so she's decided to head over to the other smoke pile because she's assuming that that's the motherfucker that she ran into in space.
They had a little fender bender.
Yeah, she slammed into that fucking ship with gusto. Which is bananas, by the way, but whatever. Physics be damned, right? Who cares about mass and inertia? Right? You know? So she goes over to that guy, come to find out. So she's like, oh, there's the ship that I ran into, it's smoking. And then it cloaks, and she's like, the fuck is this shit? And then goddamn Abs over here, this dude comes at her with the fucking trying to kick her ass. He doesn't want to be friends with her. And she's just like, no, I'm not trying to fight you. I want to be friends. And then he's just like, none of your shit. And she's like, no, okay, maybe I'll fight you. And so that ends up being a stalemate. And she's like, I need to call my ship. I don't know what's going on. And he's like, you broke my dilithium. Some bullshit. So he needs more dilithium. Or whatever. And so they become fast fucking friends, kind of. Right? So he's like, you can come on my ship. Let me introduce you to my cat. Look at my beautiful ship. And let me tell you what, the wood detailing on his sci-fi ship, very tasteful. Very tasteful wood detailing on his sci-fi ship. It's quite nice. It seems expensive and unnecessary, but quite nice. We also get introduced to some new technology because it's, 3188 or something like that. And the new technology is that everything is just kind of like a textured surface that, like, comes up and holograms into being actual controls. Whatever.
Super cool.
It's very badass. It seems like an unnecessary shift for no reason whatsoever. And it's whatever. It's cool for the dude in the space station. It looks less cool on this guy's ship. Personal opinion. So he's like, all right, you want to make a communication call with a long-range subspace transmitter. I need some dilithium. You got some old junk from your ship, like a fucking field kit to survive. So why don't we team up together? We go to the trading post here on this planet. We figure it the fuck out. So they go, yes, they walk to the trading post. It's any distance you want away. They show up, and he's like, everybody shut the fuck up. You need to shut the fuck up. I'm going to get us through this. She does not. It ends up working out in the end. They get inside of there, right? So she's like, show me where the thing is, then I'll give you the tricorder, and we're good to go. And he's like, that's great. We're friends again. Remember, high fives. He takes her to where the communication hub is. Come to find out, it's actually not a communication hub. It's a vault or something.
But they're storing the dilithium crystals.
Yeah. So she walks in and then gets like laser ropes around her from somewhere. And he's like, I'm just going to steal your shit. Deuces. And he leaves.
Double cross.
Right? And so she is trying to, two guards. Also, this whole station is controlled by Andorians and Orions. They're now in charge of everything, I guess. So the Andorian, this very shiny Andorian and very shiny Orion. It's so bananas how shiny these two are. But they're at the spa recently.
They're equal parts shiny and blurry.
It's weird. It's weird.
Yeah,
Stop filtering things. Don't use Instagram filters on TV. But so they're like, what the fuck are you doing here? And she's like, I'm not gonna tell you shit. So they missed her with truth dust. And it's a combination of being like kind of drunk and kind of high and kind of truthful and kind of rambly and some jokes in it.
It's pretty delightful.
It's quite fun.
Yeah.
So she kind of goes a little bananas. They don't get really dick out of her other than the guy who stole from her. His name is Book. This cat's name is Book. I'm probably going to call him Abs from now on because he has some fucking abs.
Yeah, he does.
We are going to address those later.
Delightful.
It's not time for the abs yet. So right now we just know him as Book. So she's like, I'm going to go to Book. Right? This is like 25% off Idris Elba. I want to say dollar store or Walmart Idris Elba.
No.
But this guy is abs and sexy, so I feel like 25% off Idris Elba.
Full on Target Idris Elba.
You think Target? That's disrespectful to this guy.
Would you say Macy's?
I kind of want to say Macy's Idris Elba. I'll accept Macy's Idris Elba down below. You tell me below what kind of Idris Elba is this guy.
Yeah, he's
also,
Macy's
if you don't know what
Idris
we're
Elba.
talking about here, then I'll explain it below. You ask me, I will explain what we're talking about. So, anyway, they're talking to fucking Macy's Idris Elba. Come to find out, the dude that he stole some cargo from earlier in the episode catches up to him, brings a gun to him, beats the shit out of him. The guards, and she shows up, she punches him in the face. This is the third time she's punched him in the face so far. real hard. And then a bunch of guards surround him, and basically, like, the guy who had the cargo stolen was like, fuck your shit, I want my cargo. And all the guards are just like, fuck all of you guys, we want our stuff back. And so she, in just the truest moment in maybe all of Star Trek Discovery, is just looks at all the guards with the blaster guns, and is just like, oh. And then gives him the look, and then they just start fighting.
And they're like, okay, let's do this.
Which is her just being like, fucking done with the day. And let me tell you what, as a person who drinks heavily, it's a very drunk clarity moment. But, so they fight, they steal some blasters, they kick some ass. She ends up finding where like a little stash of dilithium over there and just steals that shit because that's not under lock and key or whatever, even though it's in like a red force field, which seems like that would be lock and
I think that perhaps it's like...
It's fine.
It's watchers were gone.
Giant eagles. So they steal some dilithium, which is what they needed, and then he's like, don't worry, I got personal transporter. Boop! Transports him out of there. Next to a beautiful waterfall, right? Then she punches him in the face again, and he's just like, what the fuck, man? And then everybody else shows up, you know, all the guards, to try to shoot them. And that fight happens, and then he transports them to, like, a cliff. And then the guards show up to try to shoot them. And then he's like, it takes 30 seconds for the thing to recharge. Smaller eagles. And then once it's recharged, also, every time people get shot, they get turned into vapor, except for the one time Burnham gets, like, gently grazed in the arm, and it's just like a weak cut. 'Tis a flesh wound.
Except it's like a really gnarly cut.
It's kind of a gnarly cut, but she's acting like she just got scratched.
Yeah.
So that's a little makeup applique V acting thing there. So he, after she gets blasted in the arm a little bit, he's like, you're not gonna like this, and then throws her off a fucking cliff. And then jumps off the cliff also, presses the transporter button. And they transport underwater. So then they swim ashore, and she punches him in the face again. This happens often. And he's still like, what the fuck? And she's just like, whoa, like, what the fuck's going on? And he's like, they can't trace us as well if we transport into a solid material like water, and if they think we're dead, like we jumped off a cliff, so we're gonna be fine. So she's like, alright, I'm cut. He uses some kind of like prayer magic.
Or
although
implant.
we think it's an implant, but maybe he's an alien and that shit's just not explained at all yet.
Or
whatever.
the implants are done in like a religious manner or something.
Again,
either
this
way,
isn't super explained.
I'm certain it's
this
an
is
implant.
also when we learn of his abs, because he has to take his shirt off in order to something.
In order to heal her cut with his beautiful
I think he took it off because he was wet, and he was like, what if I displayed these abs because of the water, and nobody complained? Which is fair. Very delicious abs.
Definitely
good for him.
did not complain.
So he does that. They show up again. Or excuse me, he summons a giant plant, gloops some gloop on her wound, ties a handkerchief around it, makes a joke. They transport to his ship. The guys show up. They're like, fuck these guys. They're gonna shoot him. So he's like, all right, we'll put our guns down. And they're like, give us the secret, give us the access code for your ship. You get the access code for the fucking ship.
Sticky.
It's sticky. I want it to be a funnier joke than it is. It's not as funny as it sounds.
I feel like it's got like a story behind it that we're gonna find out later.
So the thing that he was transporting was some sort of telekinesis slug or whatever the fuck. So that shit takes over people's minds. He's like, everybody close your eyes. He's like, Burnham, close your eyes. So they close their eyes. Telekinesis slug takes over, eats those 4 people. Then he's trying to calm it the fuck down. Burnham gets ate by it, but then spin up because of
because he's able
forehead powers
to bargain it off.
Yeah, whatever.
Yeah.
So she gets spit out, and she's just slimy. Then they get on a ship. They go to the planet that he was supposed to go to. Come to find out, he's actually a good guy, and he had to bring the slug to the right water so that way it could mate within a certain time period. Blah blah blah. None of that matters. She's like, I'm still looking for my ship. They take her to a space station. That's an old, like, blown-out hulk of a Federation station. That old blown-out hulk of a Federation station is just like, hey, there's a guy here. I've been waiting here for 40 years. I don't know what to do, but now that you're here, we have some hope. She can't find the ship. They're like, hope's gonna stand. She raises the flag of the Federation. They redesign the flag of the Federation. Looks fucking bang up by the damn by. That whole scene with the guy in the space station, very emotional. It's a fantastically done scene. Really, really good. Right? End of fucking episode. Preview for the rest of the season, which does involve the actual USS Discovery, whatever, NCC Discovery, that does involve the Discovery and all the rest of the crew, but they weren't in this episode. Functionally, this episode was Burnham and Abs. So that's the plot of this episode. It's not a lot actually gets fucking done in this episode.
I mean, I feel like they do a pretty big amount of stuff.
It's enough setup for this, like, future, we're going to rebuild the Federation, that it's sort of what it is, right? So let's move on to pros and cons of this. I feel like pros of this episode, they did a good job setting up this, like, the Federation has failed because of something called the burn that was really never addressed.
I mean, they talked about it.
Yeah, no, I mean, like, they haven't, like, fully explained what it is. Obviously, they're going to do this over several episodes.
Yeah.
I didn't expect it to happen this time. But, like, the Federation failed, something about the burn, and there was a time war, and a bunch of subspace got fucking botched.
And
a bunch of dilithium exploded.
Yeah.
So that shit's, like, harder to get, although it was my understanding from the previous iterations of Star Trek, there's, like, a bunch of locations that you can mine dilithium on. It's totally cool. So, like, shit's real fucked in the universe, and hopefully Burnham and the Federation can come back and save the day. Pro. Con, I feel like this episode was very Discovery. I feel like, this is gonna be a very episodic series, or a non-episodic series again. It's gonna be that one big overarching story, which is not traditional Star Trek. I have hope that Discovery's going to do a good job with this, and again, another pro. Like, I want a series that's just the Federation fighting back against tyranny and stuff. Like, I want this to be good, and I have hope, but we'll see, you know? I mean, this was, for me, the biggest con was they kind of heavily relied on giant eagles in this episode, primarily the first time they teleport out of the, like, out of the bad guy place into underneath the waterfall, one of the Andorians transports in and is like this far away with a blaster and misses Burnham with like 3 shots. And like, okay, fine, listen, that's a combination of editing and fight choreography that just didn't work out in the end. I understand that, and in reality, it's not like that much of an issue. But it was one of those things where it didn't take me out of the episode, but it certainly stuck out in my mind as like, so we're just going with like a stormtrooper thing now, where they just can't hit a broadside of a fucking barn, you know, and she got shot and it was just like a flesh wound, but everybody else was getting like deep vaporized by the fucking pie. Yeah. You know, like so there's a couple of things about like Burnham being the Uber God that were a little upsetting, but again, I think it's just because it's the first episode and they need to like set up her badassery. So I'm not overly concerned about that. What about you, pros and cons?
I thought that pros, I really liked the slugs. They were super cute.
The slug, the mind slug was tight.
Yeah, it was really cute. But really, I like that, and I like the motivation behind Mr. Abs. And
I have no problem. Abs is my favorite character so far.
I'm really interested to learn more about, like, his people based on what he said about his people and about his implant. Cons, I'm not really a big fan of Michael Burnham overall. She's very Mary Sue, but she's like uber Mary Sue. She can do literally everything, and like, girl power, that's cool. But like, I'm not really a fan of Michael Burnham as a character, especially coming out of season 2, which I really was not a fan of season 2. And my opinion of Burnham definitely went steeply downhill in season 2. So that's really the only con is stop making her such a Mary Sue. Don't
make her infallible. Let her fail and let her crew support her. I agree. I'm not a big Burnham fan. I think what we've shown, this is the thing. I think Burnham wasn't too bad until we saw Mariner. Where Mariner was perfect at everything, but still had character flaws that could be developed and worked towards and affected her.
Burnham has character flaws, and it's primarily that she's like...
Too badass?
She's too badass. Like,
she's bulletproof, maybe?
She's bulletproof.
I don't fucking know. It's bananas. She just survives high velocity impacts with starships.
I mean, the other con that I have, which is kind of like a problem in any like time traveling thing, is when I'm watching something like this, so she moved 930 years in the future. So that's like 1,000 years, guys. She moved a millennia into the future. Right now, in the year 2020, I want you to think back about what the Earth would have been like in the year...
Really 1,000 years she moved?
930 years, they specifically said it. I really want you to take a moment and think back to what the year 1020 would have looked like.
Yeah.
To anyone.
I mean, I guess, but where, like, the tech, well, it's not just the tech, but, like, people.
Languages change, and technology changes, like, so much. Like,
the language wouldn't have mattered because of the universal translator.
1020 is, like, right in the middle of the Dark Ages, where there's just, like, people kind of forgot how to, like, write stuff down.
Yeah.
There are some people that think that in between 800 and 1200 like people just kind of forgot how to use a written form of communication, guys.
Yeah.
And if we went back in 2020 to, like, you know, if one of them got jumped forward to 2020 and here we are in cars, planes, we can go to space, like, we know that we're a planet, like, there's a huge amount of stuff, and she's like, first of all,
we don't think the planet's the center
it
of the
feels
system.
To me like there are not enough changes 1,000 years into the future, but also, like, she's just, like, totally okay with these changes, and that's my con. No, it's only 2 now.
Yeah. So I mean, I agree.
But that's in every time travel thing. But I felt it especially hard with this one because, like, the only really new technology was, like, you can transport, like, you can just tap your
they have, like, site transports, but it takes 30 seconds to and, like, dilithium has an issue, even though, like, Scotty figured out how to properly recrystallize dilithium after it's used in a fucking intermix chamber in the fucking whatever, like, 2100s, 2200s. I totally agree. There are certainly some issues with that length of leap. To be honest, I don't expect them to explain any of it. This isn't really one of those kind of shows that's good at really being Star Trek. So, whatever.
So, I mean, setting that aside.
Yeah. Okay, so pros, cons. Best bits,
hands down,
abs?
Slugs in the water.
I mean, slugs in the water. Abs. The abs was good. Burnham just punching him in the face like 9 fucking times is just money.
The time where
it's so fucking funny.
When she got like gassed and she's
when she's just like gassed like, and high. Just like freaking the fuck out is pretty good. It's pretty good.
Yeah.
Just to retrace the cons, do a better job with your fucking fight choreography. Don't just use a shaky cam. It's a bullshit, cheap-ass way to do that. Sorry, I had to bring that up. It's super infuriating when they do that. Hire somebody who's good at their fucking job. No, I mean, honestly, best bits. There was some funny bits in this. I did like all the, like, shit just, like... It feels like transporters and replicators have moved to almost absolute utilization. So, like, you just replicate a cloak onto you. Or a jacket. Like, there's nothing real or valuable anymore. Which I sort of liked what that did. With regard to, like, the logic in Star Trek. And again, I really like the character that Book is. We're gonna call him Abs, but I really like Abs. He's a fun character.
Yeah.
You know? So I want to see more of him. What about you, best bits?
I already said those. I'm done.
Same best bits. Same best bits. So, that's best bits. That's all that. So, rating for this episode... For a Discovery episode, I would give this 4 out of 5.
Same.
For a Star Trek episode, I would give this 2 out of 5. Because it's not good Star Trek. It's a good show, and it's a good episode for Discovery, but, I mean, Jesus, flippin' heck, man. Like, dude, watch TNG. Holy shit, it's better. You know, like that kind of stuff. There's just... Honestly, rewatch the first episode of Lower Decks and really compare the two. This just isn't as good as it could have been. And as a Trekkie, I expect more. But for a Discovery episode, and I understand that Discovery's a different kind of Star Trek, it was pretty fucking good.
Yeah.
It was pretty good. It was better than most of last season. So, bang up, you know?
Yeah.
But either way, I've been John Norgrove. This has been Wife. This has been Review Jive. This was longer than I wanted it to be. We watched Star Trek Season 3, Episode 1 of Star Trek Discovery. We are going to do these every single week. Same bat time, same bat channel. Except for it's not going to be the same time because it's coming out late. But it doesn't matter. Any bloody who. Don't forget to like this video, comment below, share, subscribe, ring the bell, do all this stuff. Make our problems other people's problems. If you want to have a discussion about this episode, do that in the comments below. I am always monitoring those, so let's talk about Star Trek and what you thought, whether you liked it or disliked it, and we will catch you guys next week for episode 2 of Discovery.
Yep.
Hey, maybe we'll actually see the fucking ship. Deuces.